Prologue. Something was happening, but I didn't know what it was. That afternoon with Bob. In the spring of 1970, I saw Les Blank's lush, lyrical, and intimate documentaries about the blues singers Lightnin' Hopkins and Mance Lipscomb, which Les was still editing. They are amazing films. Here was the life of the blues itself, and I told whomever I met that summer that they had to see them, that they were essential sacred texts of our culture. As it happened, I spent the good part of a week in late June and early July on a train with a bunch of blues freaks, the band, Leslie West, Janis Joplin, the Grateful Dead, and proselytized Les's films to one and all. The band's Rick Danko asked if Les, who'd by this point moved in with me, might bring the films up to Woodstock so they could all see them. Les and I borrowed a car and drove up to Woodstock to show the films to the band and assorted Bearsville hippoisie. They were all suitably awed. A couple of weeks later, I got a phone call from John Taplin, the band's manager. Turns out Bobby had heard about Les's films and wanted to see them. He was going to be in New York on Friday, and John asked if I could set up a screening. No need to ask which Bobby he meant. This was the Bobby, Sir Bob himself, my idol, the sublime, inscrutable Bob Dylan. Some years ago, Dylan and Howard Alk had taken footage from the Pennybaker documentary of his 1966 European tour and made it into a maddening, methadone-addled anti-documentary called Eat the Document. Taplin explained that Dylan now wanted to release Eat the Document, but in order to distribute it, he needed an extra 40-minute film to go with it. He suggested Bob take a look at one of Les Blank's documentaries. Les is a large bear of a character, bearded, slow-talking, southern. He is a man of few words and fewer effusions of emotion. But the idea that Bob Dylan might see his films visibly animated him. But where to screen the films? My walk-up tenement on East 4th Street was out of the question. By chance, I had purloined the keys to my publisher's fancy brownstone apartment on a fashionable side street on the Upper West Side while he was on holiday. Just the spot. The day came. On a swelteringly hot afternoon in late July, Les and I lugged a 16mm projector, a folding screen, and cans of film uptown on the subway. We set it all up, arranged and rearranged the furniture, and waited. Hours went by. Anxious thoughts attacked us. Did we give them the right address? Was this the right day? Finally, they arrived. The band entered in their cowboy regalia, along with wives and girlfriends in airy summer dresses. And then there was Bob himself. It was as if he had fallen out of the sky from another climate entirely, the dead of winter, actually. He was dressed in a long wool overcoat, hat, and gloves, and shades, of course. Low blood sugar, perhaps, due to his habit, I thought, somewhat uncharitably. Like a sleepwalker taking his nocturnal stroll, Bob walked straight into the house, flanked by Robbie Robertson and Rick Danko, and sat down. There were no introductions, no small talk. Even members of the band, who knew him as well as anybody, treated him with the deference usually reserved for foreign dignitaries. While the men retired to the dining room where the projector was set up, the women flipped through European fashion magazines in another room. Les, in a state of alert apprehension, ran the Lightnin' Hopkins film. When it was over, Dylan cryptically signaled that he'd seen enough. The lights came up. We all waited for him to say something, but the oracle was silent. Les was now palpably humming with anxiety. I had to do something. I walked over to Dylan, who was still sitting there, swaddled in his overcoat and gloves, and asked, "How did you like the film, Bobby?" What was I going to do, call him Mr. Dylan? He regarded me with a deadpan expression, and, passing over my question entirely, asked, "Who's the architect of this house?" He spoke the way he sang, leaning on the syllables the way a cowboy might lean on a bar. I was still listening to the music of the words when I realized he was asking me a question. I froze. He couldn't mean something as literal as this, could he? Dylan being Dylan and all. Of course not. It was code. It was an allegorical question. But about what? I was in a room full of books, and they all had the same title. Like The Wicked Messenger or Frankie Lee, I was in the presence of the Sibyl, but too witless to grasp the message. The words architect and house reverberated in my brain. They ballooned into sound sharks and swam eerily through my synapses.